Hello everyone and welcome back on my YouTube channel. I'm Thomas Etchel and today I want to talk to you about invalid traffic. Invalid traffic is becoming one of the biggest silent budget killers in Google Ads, and the worst part is that many advertisers don't even know it's happening until they see lower lead quality, inflated CPAs, lower ROAS, or even weird spikes in clicks, especially if you're using demand gen, YouTube or Pmax campaigns. Google has a sophisticated system to detect and filter invalid traffic, but even they acknowledge that the problem is ongoing and evolving, and that advertisers still need to monitor their own accounts. In 2025, invalid traffic rates are climbing fast. We have bots, we have click farms, we have competitor clicking on your ad, we have automated crawlers and so much more, and Google does not catch everything. So for today, I managed to get all current invalid traffic percentages worldwide split by campaign types for you, that you can understand how much ad traffic is really wasted. And obviously I don't have access to this data myself. So for this video, I teamed up with ClickPatrol, a tool who looks at 800 and more data points per click to block non-human fake traffic like bots or scrapers and so much more. And they delivered all the data I was interested in for this video. So yeah, let's not waste any more time and jump right into the data. Here is the reality of invalid traffic in 2025, and I think it's worse than most advertisers would think. It was worse for me. Search is still one of the cleanest channels. That's also what I expected. But even there, almost 10% of all clicks are invalid, which is quite high. I thought it to be more or less 5 to 6%. Pmax demand gen campaigns, they sit in the 30-40% range, which makes sense. I expected them to be around there. They mix signals, broad audiences, multi-format placements, and they are showing on a mixed range of placements like display, discover, YouTube, and so on. So yeah, there it makes sense that the invalid traffic rate is quite high, and yeah, for demand gen still a bit higher than for Pmax. But the real problem, what I'm seeing here, is YouTube and display traffic. Around 1 in 5 clicks is flagged as invalid from ClickPatrol. And these networks often attract bot farms, incentivized traffic, also low quality ad placements at scale. That's also something that I've seen quite a lot. So yeah, I really expected to be display campaign type the worst one when it comes to invalid traffic, but I was quite surprised that YouTube is very near the display invalid rate, which quite concerns me because I thought YouTube is a Google-owned property and their bot farms and invalid traffic is not that common. But ClickPatrol sent me this data, and yeah, YouTube has quite some invalid traffic that they registered. And if you compare this all with Meta, it's not even close. Facebook is pushing almost 30% invalid traffic based on ClickPatrol data, meaning that nearly a third of the spend, that's quite a lot, is hitting non-human or low intent activity traffic. So that's quite a lot. Exactly why tools like ClickPatrol are becoming essential. Google filters some of this, but not enough traffic out. If you're running anything beyond search, you're exposed to a massive amount of wasted spend. Some settings that you can do directly inside your Google Ads account to lower invalid traffic. I wanted to introduce you to ClickPatrol. And if you've been following my content, you know that I only collaborate with tools that actually solve problems for PPCers like me and you. ClickPatrol is one of the few platforms that provides real-time protection against invalid traffic across Google Ads, Bing, Meta, TikTok, and a lot more. And they monitor patterns that Google can miss. For example, algorithmic bot behaviors, repeated suspicious sessions, competitor click patterns, also proxy VPN traffic. We have data center traffic, geo anomalies, and also high-risk device fingerprints. And the best part is that ClickPatrol can automatically block these users before they even click again. So you won't pay for the click because it's automatically blocked. I link them below in the description, so if you want to protect your campaign properly, I think it's quite important for 2026. Now let's look at some optimizations that you can do right away in your Google Ads account in order to decrease invalid traffic. One of the things you can do is to choose limited inventory for your Google Ads account. This inventory type excludes most of the sensitive content and limits your available inventory just by a bit. but that's an inventory type that I use always if I have demand gen, YouTube or Pmax campaigns running in my Google Ads account. I don't use it if I have search campaigns, because as we saw there, the invalid traffic rate is not that high. But for YouTube display Pmax campaigns, it's really important that you use limited inventory, because that reduces a bit your invalid traffic rates. The next optimization that I do is to exclude sensitive content, which is also really important. Sensitive content, for example, for strategy, conflict, sensitive issues, and so on, that is showing on the Google Display Network and Google Video Partner Network. I always recommend to tick all of the 5 content types to also here better be safe than sorry. For content labels and types, I like to exclude most audiences with parental guidance, mature audiences, and content that is not been labeled yet by the policy team at Google. Also for content type, I like to exclude live streaming videos. These are showing on YouTube display or Google Video Partners. I also don't like embedded YouTube videos below the fold display, content types, and parked domains, because the invalid traffic rate is usually quite high, especially on parked domains. The next optimizations that I do against invalid traffic is to exclude content themes for YouTube display and Google Video Partner. For example, games that are for mature or fighting, health that is sensitive news, politics, religion. That's all content that I don't want my ads to be showing on. Some also exclude recent news, and that's something that I usually don't select, but you can obviously select it. Content suitable for families is quite the safest one from all these content themes here, but I recommend ticking all those on that I have right here. Another thing you should do, as we saw before, YouTube has a quite high invalid traffic rate, so I like to exclude a lot of YouTube placements directly from my demand gen or YouTube campaigns. With YouTube placements that are suspicious for me, for example, the ones who have a click-through rate which is very high. You usually see YouTube placements with 100% click-through rate or even conversion rate that is quite high. That's usually invalid traffic, so I like to exclude them. Very important is also to look at your Google Analytics 4 quality metrics. For example, I use the columns event sessions, GF4, over average engagement duration per session, and the percentage engaged sessions that I import from GF4, because there you can also see sometimes if you have 100 clicks but your average engagement duration is 0.0, so you know, okay, those are not humans, those are likely bots. So on this campaign or on this ad group, you need to double check, you need to see what is triggering this invalid traffic. But obviously, if you have invalid traffic blocker tools like ClickPatrol, then you're safe here. I've been seeing more and more analytics teams use GF4 behavior to spot invalid traffic. Google itself recommends checking for patterns like zero engagement times, abnormally high bounce rates, repeating sessions also from the same devices, or sudden click spikes without any conversions, especially coming from YouTube demand gen and display campaigns. Those usually are very suspicious ones. So yeah, having GF4 in place to check on invalid traffic is very recommended. What also helps a lot is adding negative location targeting. For example, if you set up a demand gen campaign, then Google is not giving you a location option to target people interested in a location or physically there. So what you have to do there is obviously exclude the whole world except the countries or the regions you want to target. That gives you also a very safe space for your campaign, especially Pmax demand gen campaigns. If you're getting invalid traffic, or even worse, invalid conversions, that's poison for your smart bidding. Why? Because the algorithm thinks that this ad group or this ad or this campaign is performing really well, because the algorithm cannot distinguish between non-human and human conversions. So what I always saying is smart bidding and invalid traffic, invalid conversions equals poison for your Google Ads campaign. I brought you here a little checklist to identify the cause for invalid traffic, what I like to do, what I like to look at. For example, I start by comparing campaign graphs for clicks and impressions over a longer period of time to see the change and when it happened. And when I compare the impression graph to the average position graph, I can see whether the traffic increase was the result of a change in the ad's average position. The second thing I do is check for change history for budgets, CPCs, and other changes that could have caused the increase in traffic, which I don't know yet if it's invalid or not. I also like to check search terms that trigger the ads for any top search terms, for example, that may have caused the traffic. Invalid traffic clicks report in the Google Ads itself to see if Google reimbursed me money or not, and where this increase in invalid click activity was, that was in that case probably automatically filtered out from my reports or not. I also usually check for external factors that might have influenced the campaign performance. You can use Google Trends, for example, to look at the search trends for top terms, but also you can see if there was any events, news events, holiday or seasonal trends that could have caused a spike in interest. If you suspect after the check that this is invalid traffic, you can also request a special investigation at Google to make their specialists look at it and in best case give you back the money. You need to share as much as information as you have about the traffic in question. I know from what I'm talking about because I worked in Google Ads support, and for example, invalid traffic request was one of the tasks that we have. So I know that you have to send a lot of information. If not, the agent on the Google Ads support cannot really help you and will give you a pushback. So what I recommend as an ex-Google Ads support agent is that you should obviously provide the customer ID. If you're an agency, provide a specific customer ID, the account where you suspect the invalid activity, your contact email that is set, that is logged in the Google Ads account, either on the MCC or on the sub account, verify that the email address is valid, and you can receive emails from google.com. That's also something that we saw in the support was not always working. Very important, obviously, you should tell Google the date range of the activity. This policy is still there. I remember that Google cannot reimburse you if the traffic that is accrued 60 days prior to the date of requesting an investigations, they cannot give you back the money. So if you see invalid traffic, you have to act now. Obviously, you should also give the campaign name, the ad group name, the keyword if you have this information. Domain name of the publisher site is also important. If you suspect you've received activity from a specific site in the Google search or network, a short summary of why you believe the click activity is suspicious. This helps the Google Ads specialists to learn more about the activity and enables them also to address this in a better way. Usually those informations that are just listed are sufficient, but in some cases in the Google Ads support, we also needed to ask the advertiser to provide additional information about the traffic and suspicious patterns. For example, IP addresses. This is especially helpful if they suspect a limited number of IP addresses causing the activity, values, and also user agent and referral. With all this information, you'll be safe and Google will 100% take your request on and look into your activity. I also wanted to show you that you can see all invalid activities that have been flagged by Google Ads directly under billing transactions. And you will be surprised how much scam traffic there is around. This is just a part that Google could flag. Imagine all other traffic that was not flagged here. So that's why it's better to be safe than sorry and use invalid traffic blocker tools like, for example, ClickPatrol. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more content, then hit the subscribe button, leave a like or a comment, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.